Hello, I'm Anthony. Welcome back to this special edition of the Arturia Pigments tutorial series. I'm going to cover the changes that have been implemented in version 3.5 today. If you want to check out my main tutorial series, I'll put a link above. And if you want to help support me making more content, a tutorial series for Arturia software as well as others, check out the Patreon link in the description below. Alternatively, click join for the YouTube channel membership scheme. But the first thing that we're going to deal with today, I've got a nice simple default sound, which I'll just dial up. Really simple. First thing we're going to talk about today, and the most substantial functional change made to the synth, is the introduction of cross-modulation. Now, you can end up in a very dark place with cross-modulation, so we're going to basically try to pull it to bits to figure out how it works, but it's entirely up to you. This thing is capable of some monstrous sounds. First things first is 10 bonus points if you can find it, because they've hidden it in the strangest place. The modulator screen, which used to be a label, is now an option source. So this is how you get to the cross modulation section. So ordinarily, our modulator, which as you know is typically tied into oscillator 3 or the noise module, can be rerouted to take its modulation source from the engine number 2. So what does that mean? Well, it means the output of engine 2, whatever engine 2 is generating, is now going to be routed as a modulation source to engine 1. Let's take this nice and slow. I'm going to head over to engine 2 and turn it on. It has to be on for this function to work. Actually, that's an important thing to say. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to make it a sine wave. Okay, that's engine 2 you're hearing. Now what I'm going to do is turn engine 2 off, so it's not making any sound. Head back over to engine 1. Just because it's not making any audible sound because we've turned its volume down doesn't mean it's not still running, because it is. Now, if I engage frequency modulation for our oscillator, we just hear a regular sawtooth. Now this is the bit that can be really confusing, because we've got two knobs here, both called FM. In engine 1, the FM knob here, if we hover over, you can see the IntelliSense say the amount of the modulation source for frequency modulation. If I turn this up, you're going to hear a change of sound immediately. What you're hearing there is the fact that engine 2 is now modulating engine 1. But the amount that it's modulating it by is actually very minimal, because its FM amount is turned down to 0. That's what this knob is. If we have a look at engine 2, here is engine 2's frequency modulation amount. If I turn that up to 9 o'clock, and you can see the FM being introduced to the wave, back over on engine 1, lo and behold, the FM amount's just been turned up. So this little section here is a shortcut into engine 2. It's not unique values in its own right. It's basically giving you the edited highlights of engine 2's own values. If I set course pitch to 1 and jump over to engine 2, course pitch is set to 1. So try not to be too confused about what these controls are. They are literally just best ofs. These are the most important knobs from the other engine. But now, as I introduce increasing amounts of frequency modulation from the source, from engine 2, you're going to hear that sound become much more dramatic. Set my FM back to 12. So let's just take stock. I'm going to turn engine 1 off, jump over to engine 2, turn engine 2 up. This is what engine 2's oscillator sounds like. But when used as a modulation source, this wave, this audio frequency wave, ends up sounding like that. Now, you want to play with the two different frequency modulation knobs here in order to mix to taste. As with any audio level or audio frequency modulation, you know, the modulations can be extreme. This is a very violent thing that's being done to Engine 1's frequency here. That's why it's sounding so extreme. Now, any kind of engine can be used as a modulation source. So we're currently in analog mode here, but we don't have to be. If we switch to sample mode, now we've got a grand piano's sample sound, which ordinarily would sound like very simple piano sample, but when used as a modulation source, you can just about hear the attack of the piano, that kind of space age laser zap effect. It's unrecognizable as the original sound because, again, it's audio level frequency. And now that we're in sample mode, you can see your edited highlights options have changed. Now we can change the sample source for Engine 2 directly from this page. So now we're using a different sample. Looks like that. Change the start position, and the start position has changed over here. Now, I find it pretty difficult to get samples to be good modulation sources. In fact, I'm actually a very simple bear when it comes to stuff like this. I kind of like sine waves. But generally speaking, I find that the analog engine gives best results for cross modulation. But of course, you know, that's entirely up to you to play. So that's a wavetable being used as a modulation source there. Now that's only one way, that's Engine 2 modulating Engine 1, but incredibly they can actually cross over. It's called cross modulation for a reason, because Engine 2 can simultaneously be modulated by Engine 1. Now obviously in order to hear this, you're going to have to turn the volume level of Engine 2 up. So both oscillators are now operating in their own right, they're audio level oscillators or engines, but they're also being modulated by the other one, and the results are about as random as you can imagine. So by me changing this coarse knob here, I'm changing the coarse knob control of the other engine, of engine number 1. Okay, absolutely insane. It's basically a big playground for sound effects. If you want to play with cross modulation, it's one of those things that it's so unpredictable that, you know, basically just dive in and have some fun. The rest of the changes are more minor in nature. Just got us a really simple sample up here. If we head into the browser, we've got these categories these samples are arranged in, and when I click on any of these samples, it's immediately going to preview it. And we have volume control for the preview. So it's much easier to find the samples that you're looking for more easily. In wavetable mode, we've got a Pigments 3.5 folder with a bunch of new wavetables to play with. Got some new presets. If we head into the banks, you've got your Pigments 3.5 options to choose from, 150 new presets. Over in the FX bank, we've got a new distortion module, a bunch of new distortion types to choose from. Germanium distortion is taken off one of the primary types of fuzz. There are two different types of fuzz, germanium and silicon. Personally, I'm not an enormous fan of distortion in synthesizers, so if that's your bag, go for it. But yeah, you've got new options there to choose from. And finally, we've got some new options in the comb filter. Got a low pass, band pass and high pass, very quick. Low pass cutting the high frequencies out, high pass cutting the low frequencies out, and band pass choosing a band in the middle to have a play with. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please hit the like button if you did. Thanks very much for watching.